Okay, let's jump right in. Today I'll be discussing the Harry Potter Legacy situation because it essentially became unavoidable for someone in my position, and also I think that instead of a more serious take, we can actually have a laugh and make this more of a comedic relief type scenario. Granted, the topics are still very serious, very, very serious, but at some point we have to just start laughing at the absurdity of some people's outrage driven fantasies, so today is going to be that day. Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy, a game that looks kind of cool, I guess, a game I will probably play at some point, and a game that will almost certainly be underwhelming at launch because open world games often are. Honestly, it's a pretty insignificant title in my eyes. I like the Harry Potter universe, and I even say that because how many Harry Potter games have there actually been, and how many were legitimately good? I don't even really know, but the numbers would probably be very, very bad. Suffice it to say, it looked cool as a cinematic trailer, and we all know how much that really means in the grand scheme of the game's eventual release and legitimate quality. It means nothing. So, anyways, I don't really care about this game. I'm sure some people do and are extremely excited. It releases this year, so have at it. But then there is a third group who absolutely hate this project because the lead designer had a YouTube channel in 2018 that criticized social justice fanatics, which is now apparently tantamount to the apocalypse. And no, I'm not actually kidding. Lead designer Troy Levitt has been yanked into the spotlight after his previous YouTube channel from 2016 to 2018, I believe, got highlighted on Twitter, and the usual group of outrage seekers latched onto his involvement with the project as a miscarriage of justice. The idea was anyone who did not believe in the social justice movement and was willing to make videos criticizing some or all of its aspects would inevitably infect, important terminology, we'll come back to that, the game that they are designing with their own political ideology, thereby ruining it and tainting the final product. The articles came in hot and heavy, more and more of them. Hogwarts Legacy lead designer used to run anti-social justice YouTube channel. Hogwarts Legacy's lead designer used to run anti-feminist, anti-social justice YouTube channel. Lead designer of Hogwarts Legacy used to be an anti-social justice YouTuber. Far-right Harry Potter video game designer raged at feminists and social justice warriors on YouTube, and the list goes on and on. Now, it's not the main focus, but let's remember that word infect, as in infect the game with their political ideology. We can even reference a quote from the Kotaku article, which reads as follows, quote, "Video games are made by massive teams of people with vastly different backgrounds, viewpoints, and opinions. Even as lead designer, it's very unlikely Levitt has single-handedly infected every aspect of Hogwarts Legacy with an anti-feminist agenda. That said, it's obvious why folks might be wary of interacting with a game developed by someone with his beliefs, adapted from works that have been sullied by their creator's own bigoted worldview." End quote. Where have we heard that sentiment before? Oh yeah, from the people saying, please stop infecting every single game with politically driven ideology. And what was the response? No, games are inherently political. The political views of the director and the creator and the workers must shine through because they are the right thing to believe. And now, for a game where someone they don't like is at the helm, well, his politics will infect the game. Get rid of him. You couldn't possibly invent a better caricature of idiocy than what these people have already willingly turned themselves into. Still, the main point here has nothing to do with that particular hypocrisy. It has to do with the organized effort to remove him from his employment and the implications that come with that drive. Here's the thing. Some people claim cancel culture doesn't exist, which is categorically insane. Of course it exists. The discussion shouldn't be framed around whether or not it's real, but more so around whether or not it is broadly effective. As an example, if I were to do something immoral or unappealing, me, myself, personally, and a wave of people tried to get me canceled for it, it would most likely fail. Why? Because all I have to do is not let myself get canceled, and the internet will move on within 2 to 3 weeks at most. Possibly slightly longer, but probably less. Sure, there would be stragglers, people who remain locked in that loop of anger for months on end, obsessed with me or the problem or whatever it was, but the vast majority of online users will wake up a few days later with other things on their mind, a fresh notification feed with all sorts of new material, and you will have overcome the cancellation. All you need to do is just keep making content. Now, if YouTube banned me, that's a pretty successful cancel culture attack, but that response is significantly more rare than the hate mob itself just coming after me. And for the most part, cancel culture only works on a peer-to-peer level if someone lets it work on them and removes themselves voluntarily from the equation as a result of the harassment or the hate or the stress, whatever it may be. Still a bad movement, still horrible people who push it, absolutely, but a lot of the pivotal decisions are actually controlled directly by the victim. However, there's another aspect of cancel culture which aims at your career. I have my own company. Yes, a lot of what I do is post to YouTube, but that's not everything. I am part owner in another business launching a retail product this year. I have an investment portfolio that does well enough to play a part in my ability to sustain a living, and I am partnered with other platforms like Odyssey. Link down below. Shill this plug here for a second. To sign up, it's a great YouTube alternative that rewards their creators extensively. So sign up on Odyssey, follow creators there, it's great. And all of that combined puts me in a much more diverse situation. YouTube could ban me flat out and I'd be okay. It would suck, yes, of course, but I'd be okay. However, for someone with a traditional W-2 employment position, cancel culture does have a viable method, kind of a honestly reliable method to attack them. And that is where the real danger lies. Someone like Troy Levitt can be targeted by the mob and potentially lose his job. That's what they're trying to do here, explicitly. Is it likely? No. Warner Brothers already knows about the channel. They've known for some time and seems to be more intent upon having well-developed games rather than bending to political rantings from an online social justice mob. But even so, that's where the danger is. Cancel culture absolutely can and does destroy existing career pathways, and that is the aspect of it that could not be more real. So where does that leave us? It leaves us at a catalyzed reaction of outrage so complex and powerful, it might just comedically destroy the entire online social world for these people, and they can't even see it. Not the people they hate or the ones that they want to cancel, their own world, because the implications behind what I have seen as the most common response to this Troy Levitt situation are insane. Funnily enough, this isn't the first time that I've covered this game. More recently, it was Polygon outraged over the fact that J.K. Rowling has voiced some personal opinions on social media pertaining to trans activism. The angle I wanted to highlight is that when someone's outraged over the actions of a twice, even thrice removed contributor to the lore and world building of a video game becomes so intense that it requires them to boycott the title completely, well, they will have a hard time existing in modern America. J.K. Rowling invented the world of Harry Potter. Yes, she probably gets paid for the game in some capacity or some way, absolutely, but she's not involved with the development of the game itself. Nazi scientists invented an entire range of pharmaceuticals through human experimentation, and their descendants profit from those atrocities to this day. But we all still use aspirin or ibuprofen or any number of other medications that they created. Does your moral purity dictate that you need to write off the entire Harry Potter universe outright because that one developer's YouTube channel in 2018 hurt your feelings? Well, you definitely shouldn't be buying anything ever from Bayer Pharmaceuticals then. How about Planned Parenthood, championed by many of the same people who would be calling for the flat-out disintegration of a developer for his 3-year-old videos on YouTube? One of the founders had ideological beliefs centered around eugenics. Probably can't be using any of their services anymore now, can we? Here's the part where some people will argue, you're being too absurd right now. Those are different circumstances, but are they? Are they really? Let's read a few snippets from the Reset Era forums that are particularly relevant right now. Quote, the game, OT, and any hype thread should be banned on here, quite frankly. I reckon it'll get the Cyberpunk treatment, but it really shouldn't even be afforded that. The game was trash from day one, end quote. And then the response, I agree with you, and I would also like to say that I still find it bullshit that the Cyberpunk OT was allowed here after everything that had transpired up until that point in time. It was a big middle finger to the trans community here, and I want the staff to correct that mistake with this game in the future, end quote. And lastly, from a moderator, quote, hey all, the staff is going to be talking over how to handle this game. For now, please try to keep discussion civil. We'll let everyone know once we've had a chance to have that talk, end quote. Basically, we want the entire game banned from being mentioned on this forum. That one developer 3 years ago made videos we don't like, and we want the entire thing banned completely. Mention of it, positive discussion of it, gameplay mechanics, soundtrack, everything banned. They even mention how the Cyberpunk soundtrack was allowed to be played, and that was wrong, and it needs to be corrected. They are excising entire AAA projects from the community because of the most trivial things imaginable. And that mentality will legitimately, unironically, and categorically lead to a systematic destruction of nearly all of their entertainment options moving forward. The world we live in contains a great many people. If your threshold for ingesting creative content is that no one on the team can have ever said anything you don't like even years ago and twice removed from the actual end user product, otherwise it should be flat out banned completely from public spaces, man, you have the worst life down the pipeline. And I'm not saying this hyperbolically like these people will ruin the world, though if in control of anything important they surely would. I'm rather saying These people are going to ruin their own lives with such viciousness. I probably won't even need to highlight their idiocy for much longer because pretty soon, at this rate, they will be in such a miserable state of being, it will be just fitting to let them sit there in their self-constructed square little cubicle of concrete so that the outside world of horrible ideas can't get to them. The funny thing is, they come at this from a completely irrational, nearly random position of selective outrage. If you actually trace this thought process to its logical conclusion, which no one really wants to do, especially over there in those communities, but if you do, then they wouldn't be watching Disney, ever, using hardly any medications, ever, utilizing Planned Parenthood at all, eating avocados, drinking bottled water, buying canned food, or especially Goya products at the grocery store, let alone playing hardly any video games or watching any movies at all ever in their lives. And the list goes on and on and on, because all of these things have C-suite executives, founding members, or business partners that hold unsatisfactory beliefs, or, most importantly, held unsatisfactory beliefs years ago. Bottom line, Troy Levitt is on the chopping block because he made commentary videos in 2018, and that probably sucks a lot for him and causes him undue stress and annoyance, but it allows us a perfect window into the unsustainable, deranged mindset of social justice-seeking fanatics. Really, honestly, if you sat down with like a head full of sarcasm and a dream, you couldn't possibly invent a better caricature or a better fictional representation of idiocy than what these people have fully, deliberately, willingly, and emphatically, outwardly become. It's honestly insane. What may have started as a viable, grounded, possibly a viable, grounded, meaningful push for a better culture, a meaningful movement, has turned into people literally wrecking their own lives and depriving themselves of things that, if continued, and especially if they were to adhere to any shred of ethical consistency, would mean that they, deliberately and effectively, remove themselves from our lives because their moral constitution can't handle tertiary opinions that they don't like from years ago. There's only one solution to that, which is just walk yourself out into the middle of nowhere and stop participating in society. And they are starting to already do it, honestly, albeit in digital spaces, pretty much organically. Legitimately, that's what they're starting to do. It's hilarious. They are hilarious. The whole thing is hilarious, and that's it for the video. Again, if you want support, please check out Odyssey. It's linked down below. Great place to support creators. Also locals, you can subscribe for $5 a month and get ad-free videos or the audio podcast versions. There's another YouTuber to check out, merch, social media, etc., but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.